worldwide at KELPradio.com.
915 Talk is a production of Desert Voice Media. You can visit desertvoice.media to learn more.
915 TALK.
The world is looking at El Paso.
What will we say to the world? From the KELP studio in El Paso, this is 915 Talk.
And now your host.
Good afternoon, beautiful citizens of the borderland. This is 915 Talk, and I am your host, Andy Frecka. Today we are broadcasting from the heart of the world's largest borderplex. We're here at the KELP studio in El Paso, and we have Mac Daddy Del Norte on the board. Mac Daddy, how you doing this afternoon?
Hello, I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
My vocabulary is tragically poverty-stricken to describe the wonder and joy of this educational journey that we've embarked upon as we learn to love our city, love our neighbors, and give God all the glory.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We're getting close to the year end.
Oh man, so excited.
This is episode 198 of 915 Talk.
Oh, did you finally go back and count them?
I just looked on the podcast. That's what it said.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Episode 198. When we started, people said, you're going to run out of people to talk to.
Not the case.
Not the case. There's a lot of interesting people in our community.
Yes.
We need to learn from each other, hear from each other, celebrate what other people are doing, even if we don't become a part of that ourselves.
Yeah,
cheer each other on. And that's really what makes us a community. And today, Mac Daddy Del Norte, we have a very special guest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, do you know why he's special?
Yes, because he is a unique expression.
Oh, what is happening?
Oh, breaking news, Andy.
Oh, breaking news? What is the
Yes.
breaking news?
Oh, let's hear
It
it.
just came in?
Yeah.
Oh,
just
wow.
right now.
Okay.
Important announcement. You can now feed your mind, feed your soul with the KELP radio app. Listen to your favorite Christian teaching and talk programs on your smartphone from anywhere in the world with the KELP radio app. You can download the app on your app store now.
Oh, wow. Wow, Mac Daddy Del Norte.
Yes.
What can we do?
We can download the KELP radio app on your phone
Oh, wow.
for free.
Oh, like if someone wanted to feed their mind and feed their soul.
Yes.
They could go to 1590 AM or 95.9 FM in El Paso,
Yes.
89.3 FM in Las Cruces.
Yes.
Oh, they could go on their Alexa smart device.
Yes.
They could say, what would they say?
Hey, Alexa, play KELP radio.
Oh, yeah, and then Alexa would do that.
Yes.
But what if they just have a phone?
They can download the KELP radio app.
Oh, I feel like when we repeat this a lot of times, it'll help people understand
Yeah,
what
definitely.
to do.
Definitely.
The KELP radio app sounds expensive.
Oh, no, not at all. I mean, the phone part is if you have the latest iPhone or something like that.
Yeah, I don't need to do that. Just any smartphone.
Just any smartphone, yes.
Right.
But it's totally free, actually.
Oh, free.
For free, yes.
The best news in the world is free.
Yes, definitely. And it's sounding good each and every day.
Yeah.
I checked it today myself, and the quality is just getting better a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
Working very hard to make that, happen for our listeners so they could be able to enjoy
That's right.
listening to KELP.
Oh, and they can feed their mind and feed their soul.
There you go. Yes.
With the KELP radio app.
Yes, that is correct.
Oh, but we were saying we have a very special guest
yes.
today. Why were you saying he's special?
Because he is the unique expression of an endlessly creative God.
Oh, that is true. He is the unique expression of an endlessly creative God. Also, he is a true son of the borderland.
Oh, nice.
He was born and raised in El Paso.
Uh-huh.
Also, we talk about a lot of things on this program.
We do.
We talk about politics. We talk about churches.
Yes.
We talk about, we had a guy come on and talk about how he'll take the fibia out of the leg and put it in your jaw, replace your jaw with a fibia, with a leg bone. We've talked about how AI, they can now put in prosthetics in a leg to predict when someone's about to stumble and the prosthetic will catch them. We've talked about all kinds of things.
Oh, man.
It's super fun. But there's one topic that I just have a weakness for, Mac Daddy Del Norte.
Yes.
You saw the topic today and you laughed at me.
Yeah, I was like, oh, your favorite topic.
Well, my favorite topic is the gospel, Mac Daddy Del Norte. You should know
Okay,
that.
okay,
But this is up there. This is
Okay,
up there.
yeah,
So what's
second
the
to your
topic?
list. Yeah, we're gonna talk about real estate.
Yeah, I have a weakness for real
commercial real
estate.
estate.
Yeah, I have a weakness for real estate.
Mm.
I've never met a piece of real estate in my life that I didn't fall in love with. It's never happened. I have this
Really?
weakness.
Got to
Yeah.
be careful, Andy, because
Yeah.
you might have people selling you a piece of real estate in heaven.
Uh,
You know, people
Oh.
are doing that now.
Really? I haven't heard about this.
Yes.
Sounds like
Gotta be
quite the
careful
subject.
now.
I haven't heard about that. But we've talked about real estate a few times on this program. But it's always been residential.
Yeah, definitely.
Today we're going to be talking about commercial real estate a little bit.
okay.
We have a partner and broker from RGL Real Estate in the studio.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah.
Nice,
And
nice.
he's experienced in retail, office, land, and investment sales. He's worked with many national clients.
Wow.
I think a few of these national clients are some of your favorite. You ready?
Oh, how so?
Well, Whataburger,
Wow.
Panda Express,
Oh, wow.
Taco Bell, Dunkin' Donuts.
For real?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, Albertsons. But we're going to talk about just really getting to know the city, just real estate is a part of the city, of course, and maybe how El Paso's changed over the years. Also, he's been on quite a few boards, or he's been on quite a few boards. Rotary Club. We had Joanna Estrada in here recently.
We did.
Remember
Yes.
her?
Yes.
She was a lot of fun to talk to.
Yes,
We were
she
talking about, what were we talking about? Salvation Army, the people who ring the bells.
Yes, yes.
And hopefully some people reached out to Salvation Army after that program.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So
That
he's
was a
on the
fun
board
one.
over there at Salvation Army. So we have a lot to dive into.
Yeah.
So without further ado, let's give a very warm Borderland welcome to the one, the only, Mr. Claiborne Gallagher. Claiborne, welcome to 915 Talk.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me, Andy.
It's a lot of fun. We really enjoy getting to know the city and so many really good people in the city and doing so many important things for our community. You're in the real estate business for many years. What drew you to that?
You know, I started with when I got out of college and finally settled down and, got a degree in economics from the University of Texas, and I had a few hours in accounting, but I came back and I worked in public accounting. I went to UTEP and took enough hours and got my CPA, so my first job was in public accounting. And then I kind of got the itch to do my own thing right about the time we were having our first child. And I got into the pizza business, was a franchisee with Cece's Pizza.
Okay. Cece's Pizza.
And it was kind of because I wasn't successful at Cece's that I kind of moved into real estate.
Okay.
I was living in Las Cruces at the time. I had kind of limited on how I could grow with Cece's. And, I did it in Oklahoma and moved back and opened a store in Las Cruces. And I was at the time hoping to either buy the operator out of El Paso or possibly be able to grow into the Tucson market. Neither of those two opportunities really opened up, and so I was kind of landlocked in what I could do with Cece's. Slowly was making less money every year to the point that I wasn't making money, and just out of necessity, I thought, I'm going to do a second gig in commercial, and I'll get my broker's license, and kind of thought if I can make a little money in real estate and then
Supplement
what I'm doing, and it'll all work out. And that was maybe in '98, and I started with a brokerage office in Las Cruces, and then I changed and went to a firm called NAI, a guy, Randy McMillan, a great guy up in Las Cruces, and worked for them for a while, and was about 3 years into that, kind of working both jobs. I realized I really need to get out of the pizza business, and it just out of necessity, I was worn out. But started off in commercial real estate up there, and kind of focused on mostly retail real estate within Randy's office, and kind of made that my niche. And with that, I knew the guys down here in El Paso with RJL. One of the partners, a guy Leo Scott, was a friend of my brother-in-law's, one of the best friends, and that was a natural avenue. And they started talking to me, and I moved and joined RJL in 2004 and moved to El Paso right in 2005.
Okay, so I understand you were born and raised in El Paso. You left, and then you came back to Las Cruces.
Yeah. So I grew up and I went to Coronado High School, lived on the west side, and graduated in the early 80s. Spent a little time away with college, ski bummed in Colorado. Came back and worked, the early 90s in public accounting, and then got with Cece's and moved to Oklahoma, and then lived up in Lawton, Oklahoma for 4 years, Cruces for 8 years, and then, like I said, got my license either 98 or 99, and then, became a broker in New Mexico first, and then got my Texas broker's license around 2004, 2005.
Okay.
Joined RJL and
right. Very good.
Here.
Yeah. So I am thinking about this a lot recently because we have this station in El Paso. It's KELP here in El Paso, and then we have Full Power FM in Las Cruces. And I'm relatively new to the area. Been here a few years. In what ways do you see El Paso and Las Cruces as being one community or separate communities?
They're a little bit of both. From a commercial real estate end, while I was living up in Las Cruces, I found it really difficult for me to work the El Paso market, but I found it kind of pretty easy for me to work the New Mexico market from here.
Okay.
But there's I think with the going up probably with the UTEP NMSU rivalry, there's a little animosity between the states. So
right.
but they are economically definitely tied. So a lot of, and since I work in retail real estate, a lot of the chains that kind of come into the market do a store generally first in El Paso, and that it's a lot of times follow a progression, whether it be an east side store, a west side store, and then something up in New Mexico or along those lines.
Right.
Sometimes chains open first up there in Cruces, but as a general rule, they kind of establish here and then grow their brand regionally outside of El Paso in the Southwest.
Right. So what I'm hearing you say is most national brands see this as being one region.
They do see it as one. So it's a logical question to ask anybody you're working with. With the minute they inquire in El Paso, are you looking in southern New Mexico too? And I kind of do 95% or more of my work locally in El Paso and southern New Mexico.
Right.
We don't run up into northern New Mexico really representing any clients. Don't do a lot of work outside of some of West Texas. We do run with some groups and do a few things in Midland and Odessa.
Gotcha. So I think there's this trap we can kind of fall into. I've found in my life as I get older, I start to think that the 90s weren't that long ago.
Right.
And it's been a minute, since you started doing this. It's been, I guess, more than 25 years. What are some of the differences you see now as compared to then?
The technology for sure. The way that real estate's marketed and the way you kind of look for real estate is different. It's become more specialized. I think there were shops that did a little bit of everything, and then especially when you get into the larger markets and over time, people have just become more more specialized.
Okay.
So I talk to a lot of people that, I'd love to work in commercial real estate. That's a big umbrella.
Right.
So is that industrial? Is that multifamily? Is that retail? And then since I primarily work in retail real estate, so there's a bunch of channels within that, whether it's, tenant rep, where you work with on the tenant side, on the landlord side. Sometimes it's, there's just different even areas of specialty, and especially when you go to the larger markets, you can't be good at everything. So, you'll go to the Dallas, Fort Worth, a lot of people will have maybe one or two clients that they represent, and that's their exclusive book of business.
Wow.
So they might run with one of the big retailers that, brand that you would recognize, all throughout Texas, and they might only have one or two of those clients that they would handle.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Well, I want to dive deeper into how even our community has changed, but we just got a question from from the KELP radio app. The KELP radio app has a function where you can message the studio. So we got this question. It says, ask them about an HEB. How does that work actually? Like you have this national chain, and they're looking at El Paso. Like, who do they call? Or I guess they're surveying the market. Just bird's eye view. How does this work?
Well, we'll try to figure out if we have an angle or know someone at HEB, and if not, some as simple as just starting with the home office, and trying to work your way up. There's trade associations where you can, sometimes a real estate manager is listed within an attendee of one of the events, or you find their contact information that way. But generally, whatever channels you can, you work yourself into a real estate department, try to find the right contact, and see if you can, get with them and see if they'll respond, and start from there.
All right. Yeah, it would be funny if we suddenly have this groundswell of support for an HEB from this broadcast.
It's not the first time that people say, why have you all thought about HEB? No, I mean, we have had, one of our partners is good friends with actually either a vice president, I think one of the key people at HEB. They've been in the market. They've looked a couple different times. They've always had hesitation because of distribution, but never say never. They might be coming back around.
Yeah, it's super interesting. I love these kind of conversations. If you're just joining us, we're with Claiborne Gallagher. He's in the El Paso, southern New Mexico commercial real estate market. I love getting to know our community through the lens of just what different people are doing, including commercial real estate. We do need to take a break. Before we take the break, this is your daily reminder that 915 Talk is listener supported and is a production of Desert Voice Media. You can listen to this or any previous 915 Talk conversation by going to the website, and the website is simply desertvoice.media. We'll talk a little bit later about the Salvation Army, because I know, Claiborne, you're involved there, but we had Joanna Estrada on. If anyone wants to listen to that conversation, just go to desertvoice.media, click on that 915 Talk link, and you'll find all the options to listen to these programs. That we 198 episodes as of today. We have them all on YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeart, et cetera, et cetera. The goal is not to get people to listen to the radio. The goal is to get the word out to the world, and we really enjoy doing that here at Desert Voice Media. We appreciate each of you who listen, who pray for us, who donate, who are just part of this journey as we learn to love our city, love our neighbor, and give God all the glory. We're going to go into a break. Do not touch that dial.
We'll be right back. Don't touch that dial.
915 Talk is listener supported and is a production of Desert Voice Media. That's right. It's people just like you who make this program possible. Together with Desert Voice, you can learn how to better serve our neighbors and pray for our community. To become a Desert Voice Media partner, you can visit desertvoice.media. That's right. That's the website, desertvoice.media. Take a look and join us today in reaching our borderland for Christ.
What an incredible year. We're looking back on 2025 with a grateful heart and an eye for a wonderful 2026. Together, we've seen Cornerstone Broadcasting expand into more of the borderland with new local programming, a more broad listener base, and new technology to serve you even better. How? Well, it's your generous giving that's been the key. Your love for this ministry and our neighbors keeps God's message alive and vibrant. We're winding down 2025, and as we do, would you remember us in your end-of-year giving plans? It'll make a big difference in keeping local Christian programming on the air, and we're continually updating behind the scenes to bring you the best sounding station we can. Give now through December 31st, and we'll count you in. You can just look for the Cornerstone Broadcasting link at kelpradio.com or call 915-779-0016. And thank you from all of us at El Paso's Christian Station, KELP.
915.
Testify.
When I was 11 years old, my parents had an abusive relationship that ended with a divorce. My father began drinking excessively and my mother left us. I took responsibility for my siblings, but in the process, I built up aggression and anger because I didn't have a normal teenage life. I began fighting and got kicked out of school. My last fight led to charges being pressed against me. I was on the path to juvenile. Thankfully, it did not go any further. I was giving community hours. In search of a place that could help me, I ended up in church. During the worship practices, I fell in love with the music they played for God. I was asked if I wanted to sing with the band. I automatically said yes. I married the worship leader and now have 2 beautiful kids. God rescued me from the dark path I was on and molded me to the wife and mother I am today. He brought the peace that I was in search of during my teenage years. My name is Jeanette Delgado. If God did this for me, He can do it for you.
And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb
And by the word of their testimony.
DesertVoice.media.
We're back. You're listening to 915 Talk.
We are back, and you are listening to 915 Talk. I'm your host, Andy Frecka. Today we have Claiborne Gallagher with us. We're talking commercial real estate here in the borderland in El Paso in southern New Mexico. Claiborne, you talked a bit about how the commercial real estate market has changed over the past 25 years. What are some ways that you've seen the city change?
Just the population and you know it's doubled. You know, Lee Trevino kind of in my high school days. Lee Trevino was kind of the edge of town.
Sure.
And you know, but you know, the projects that have come online since I've been in business, you know, with El Paseo Plaza, where the Super Target and all that is out off of that. We worked on that project. That wasn't here.
Sure.
East Lake Marketplace, and that's newer. West Town, you know, everything there. North Hills Crossing, the Walmart Center out in the north. You know, it's just, and it all started, you know, a lot of it started around the time that Fort Bliss blew up with the base realignment.
Okay.
And I think that was starting kind of around 06, 07. And so El Paso just, you know, it's always been a growing community, but it really kind of found another gear when that happened.
Yeah, it is funny to talk about what is East El Paso, because we're here at the KELP studio. It's just south of I-10, Hawkins exit. And some people call that East El Paso. I think we need to come up with a new part of the town that we call the Middle East, or
yeah, you know, there's Central East and
yeah,
Far East.
Sure. Yeah, the community is growing. It's changing. There's these mega projects that they're talking about coming into town. The data center out in Santa Teresa, the Facebook center here in El Paso. How do you see that affecting the market as a whole?
You know, it's really hard to get your hands around the numbers that they're saying on these. You know, for instance, the data center out in the Santa Teresa area, I know a lot of that's going to be the components and things that go inside of it, but they're throwing out a number of 165 billion.
I don't even know what you're exactly what you said. When I see these numbers, I don't even know what they mean.
to keep that in perspective, that's more than the GDP of the state of New Mexico, and New Mexico is the second largest oil producing state in the country.
Wow.
So is it really going to be equal to the total economy of the state of New Mexico?
Wow.
There's a lot of oil and gas in eastern New Mexico. So when
Yeah.
you're saying 165 billion, it's just a crazy number.
I think the number I saw, and don't quote me on this, it was just something I saw, I think, on the internet, is that 165 billion, just for like comparison's sake, is the same value as all the real estate in El Paso, not counting the land.
Well, if they're, let's just say they're 90% off those numbers, and
Sure.
it turns into 16 billion, that's 2 times the amount of capital that was spent on the expansion of Fort Bliss.
Wow.
when they did the base realignment, and we saw what
Yeah.
that did. And again, I know a lot of that's the hardware and the stuff, that components that go into the building, but
Right.
just the amount of construction that's going to have to go into the utilities and the infrastructure, it's going to have it's going to be a huge driver. It has to be.
Yeah. I mean, I looked at that and I thought, should I invest in a trailer in Santa Teresa, or what should I do?
There's going to be the construction dollars alone of just the laborers that are going to work on it will be it'll push our economy, I think, for several years if it really comes to fruition. And I think it is, because I ride a motorcycle, a dirt bike, and I've gone out there and there's tractors on the ground.
Wow.
2-day grading.
Okay.
So Kiewit, a national contractor's out there, I believe, working on the site.
Okay. All right. Yeah. It's mind-boggling, as you said. I can't wrap my mind around those numbers.
Yeah, they're just, again, I think it was somewhere around 8 to 10 billion is what they spent on the expansion of East Fort Bliss, which, if you look out at Loop 375 and drive and see everything that they put in out there, we're talking 10 times that in dollars. It's a crazy number.
Yeah, and it's right here between Las Cruces and El Paso. And you're saying, if it goes through, it'll be a driver for the region.
Well, it's not going to. I don't think they have huge employment bases, but during the construction and while it's going on, it's got to be. It's going to drive our economy. The Meta deal off of US 54 is, if you haven't driven by, is a huge project.
Yeah.
I don't have all the dollar figures and sizes on those, but they're major projects.
Yeah, and like, how does that work in the commercial real estate world when you see a mega project like that? Are there like sub projects as people are looking at investment and even things like retail?
Well, I think everybody, again, commercial's a big umbrella, but as a general rule, you kind of, I'll just focus on retail. So as a general rule, retail follows rooftops. Rooftops follow jobs. So Fort Bliss was great for us when that happened. Some of this new construction, some of the growth, it grows our economy. All of a sudden, people need housing. They need to live somewhere. We had a huge industrial boom in the last 7-8 years. It's kind of cooled off, but a lot of those spaces are getting occupied and employing people. So when you look at how the east side grew, out off of Loop 375, and now into the Horizon City area, and it's growing down into the Clint area, it's growing out in Santa Teresa, retail follows the rooftops. Eventually you reach a point of where, you've just got such an underserved market that the restaurant chains, the grocers, they follow. So,
it's interesting because, again, talking about, we're all getting older every day, but I'm old enough now to, when I'm in my hometown back in Ohio, I'm saying, I remember when that shopping mall used to be just a forest. and you look at El Paso 20 years in the future, how is it going to look different?
Well, and what's changed too, I can think back on, I had some heartburn and I was looking at a piece of dirt at Darrington and Eastlake, and I took it to another local developer back in the day, and he developed a little center on it. But we were looking at it, and it was under $8 a foot.
Okay.
And just trying to grapple with, man, how could we make that number work? Well, now, there's lots of parcels that have traded over $30 a foot.
Sure.
Some are 40, and now I'm hearing some numbers that are north of 50 a foot.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's wild times. If you're just joining us with Claiborne Gallagher, he's a commercial real estate broker here in El Paso, southern New Mexico. Just looking at our community through that lens of commercial real estate, I find this to be incredibly fascinating. We will continue the conversation, but right now we have Charlie One on the phone. Charlie One, what are you seeing out in the roads this afternoon?
Few crashes. First of all, Andy, few crashes going on. I want to go to the east side first. Loma Land and Gilbert, we have a crash. That's been working for a while, but PD investigating that one was with injury, Loma Land and Gilbert. Then we go to Central, Harrison and Byron. Not a real busy intersection, but still a wreck being handled there by the PD, Harrison and Byron. But we go out to the busy intersection on the east side, Zaragoza and Sunfire. Injury crash here. That's a busy area there, Zaragoza and Sunfire. So that injury crash tying things up there, PD at the scene. And then where I see a lot of slow bumper to bumper is I-10 East at the Travel Information Center. Just that Anthony area, we have a crash there. Not a crash, it's a road closure on the left lane, but taking up the left lane, and you're just bumper to bumper there, I-10 East at the Travel Information Center. And Andy, back to you.
Charlie One, this afternoon we have Claiborne Gallagher with us. He's a commercial real estate broker here in El Paso, southern New Mexico. We're talking about just how the community has changed. And I think there's one thing that we can all hold on to, even as El Paso grows. One thing that we can really hang our hat on, and one thing that just brings stability into our lives, and that would be a bowl of menudo. And if people are looking for that stability, where should they look for that bowl of menudo?
And that's true what you said. That there's one thing that doesn't change, is that's delicious menudo, hot and spicy. Just put those onions on there, the oregano, and that just very, very delicious menudo. That's going to hit the spot. And you can find it at Mi Pueblito Cafe, 3120 Traywood. That's about a couple of blocks east of George Dieter. Mi Pueblito Cafe, 3120 Traywood. And Andy, back to you.
Thank you, Charlie One. We'll talk soon.
You bet. You bet.
And we're back with Claiborne Gallagher. We're talking real estate, commercial real estate. Claiborne, it's interesting for me when I've looked at the El Paso real estate market, the residential market, and this is just me with a pen like on a back of a napkin, but investing in that real estate to rent it out, residential real estate, doesn't seem to make a lot of sense because of property taxes.
right.
So what would the difference be just between the residential investment in real estate as compared to commercial?
It's similar thought processes and similar kind of math calculations, but different numbers. But one of the things is if you get into commercial real estate, and I'll focus on retail, is a lot of it depends on the lease structure of how you can put something together. And if you can, try to do more of a net type lease where the tenants pay, reimburse or pay direct the property tax, the insurance on the property, and the maintenance. So it's pretty common in the strip centers around town and the various multi-tenant projects you see. Those are structured more towards net leases where the tenants pay their proportionate share of those expenses to maintain the center, i.e. the property taxes, the building insurance, and whatever maintenance you might have. And then, you bill back to the tenants as a payment in addition to rent. They pay their proportionate share of those expenses.
Right.
And so if you can structure leases that way, it helps kind of buffer some of those changes, but it's now makes it harder on retailers and people to, be profitable, continue to occupy space, pay the rent, because property taxes are a huge component in real estate. It's a big expense, whether it be for the landlord if you're having to pay them direct, or a huge expense to pass through to the tenants.
Yeah. It's interesting for me, like just this is my level of research. It's just things that pop up on social media. But the the generalization that I've seen, and I'd like you to speak into this, is commercial real estate is a higher bar to get into financially, but it requires less upkeep because usually the tenants are kind of taking care of the space themselves. They're not going to call you about a plugged toilet, for example. They're going to take care of a lot of those things themselves. Would you agree with that generalization?
That's probably an accurate generalization. Usually the tenants are responsible for issues within their space. So yes, if the toilet backs up within their space, it's usually but every lease structure, there's no exact way. There can be a lot of gray. And it varies, but office is different. Generally the office space, the landlord's much more responsible for the whole upkeep and maintaining all the common areas and everything within an office. And so it's full service all the way down to the janitorial, the cleaning, the changing of the light bulbs.
Oh, wow.
Retail is a little more different in that it's usually the tenants that occupy their spaces. They're responsible for the build out and the maintenance of within their walls, and the landlord's generally responsible for everything outside of the walls. So maintaining the landscaping, the parking lots, the signage.
So there is a lot of nuance in there.
There is, and there's just a lot of variables once you get into the different structures of leases, and then the larger the project and the more it just can get really complicated. The leases can become a web with co-tenancies and occupancy clauses and all sorts of stuff that can kind of reach up and bite you.
Yeah, sure. And if someone's out there and they're just toying with the idea of investing in commercial real estate, what would some advice be, or what are maybe some of the common mistakes you see just off the top of your head?
I think I would encourage everybody to, whether it be something in resident, if you can. No, I wouldn't discourage people from looking how to invest in real estate. But I think it's important that you maybe not mess up too bad the first time or the second time you get in, because it's hard to overcome.
Right.
But try to get into a project, whether it's if you have to joint venture it with some people or something that's not going to take you down, that you can hopefully have be fairly conservative, be able to have a contingency, be able to come, get through a challenge, whether it be a vacancy or, and as a general rule, things take longer and cost more than you're planning. I found very few times where people say, that took us a lot less time and we spent a lot less than we thought we would.
Sure.
Have a little backup and
have
contingency.
A cushion in there.
Just like you would look at on the residential side, where you start becoming familiar with prices per foot or what homes go for in a neighborhood, you need to do the same thing in commercial. What you see lease rates are, what you see buildings for, get a feel for what might be the right pricing or the right deal structure.
Right.
Now, working in commercial real estate, now you can, if you kind of are familiar with who's looking, and sometimes you can kind of piece a deal together. Our office does primarily only brokerage, and we don't do a lot of development within RJL. I've got a partner and have done some things in New Mexico because I didn't have a lot of client conflicts with other listings and things that I had in New Mexico. So since moving to El Paso, I have done a little bit of development with a friend and a partner. But most of that stuff has been up in the Las Cruces or outside of the El Paso area.
Okay. Yeah.
So I've done both.
It's super interesting to learn about these details, these nuances, because it's not just, as you said earlier, it's not just commercial real estate. There's industrial, there's retail, as you were mentioning, all the office space, and so on and so forth. And each of them, I'm sure, has their pitfalls, the things to be aware of. And definitely, if you're sticking your toe in the pool for the first time, make sure you have someone walking alongside you.
Try to get some guidance. Try to make a good. I mean, like anything, you want to make a good solid decision, but it's so hard. It's so hard. If you can get into something and have a renter, a tenant that's starting to help you pay your notes. I call it, as I've told people, it kind of gets you into a forced savings plan.
Yeah.
You know, everybody says, well, what do you do with all the extra money if you owning real estate? And I'll tell people that why you own real estate, it's really not that fun unless it's either paid for or you sell it.
Oh, wow.
But in that middle time, while you're also paying the bank,
Yeah.
You're really just shuffling money from the renters to the bank to the IRS to repairs to whatever.
That's super valuable.
And if you can stick with it long enough, though, it generally works out.
Yeah.
Because as a general rule, rents go up, property values go up, and if you can stay with something long enough and get through that first one or two hurdles that you might face, it usually works out.
Okay. Yeah, I
but it's a long game.
Sure.
It's not a 3-year game. It's not a 4. Some people do build, develop, flip, and get out. But to hold real estate and kind of build some equity, it's a longer process.
Right. Yeah, I think that's so valuable to understand, and I'm also reminded of what you said. Years ago you were looking, or some time ago you were looking at $8 a square foot for land, and now you're looking at 30 and 50. And what's the future going to look like?
I'll give you something but it's doable. And when we started getting into brokerage, and my partner and I had a little Fidelity account from when I worked at an accounting office. My wife had an IRA. So we had some IRAs, which after about 10 years, they had the same balance as when we left our employers. They went up a little bit, they went down a little bit.
Sure.
And then we realized we could self-direct and invest in real estate. So, and my partner, his wife, and she, that we all had, between the couples, we each had about $60,000 each between our 2 IRAs from working for employers. Like my wife had worked for a law firm for 8 years.
Wow.
And I had worked in public accounting so it took a while to just build up that amount. But we realized, since we kind of understand real estate, let's just invest something that we understand.
Sure.
So we self-directed that into real estate development, and ended up building a little store and leased it to a Verizon dealer. It wasn't corporate Verizon, but one of the stores, and still own it to this day.
Yeah.
And we built that in 2002.
Yeah, I love that, and you kind of hinted at this. I think it's I've heard this before. Invest in what you understand.
Yeah,
and it is the long game, and it's not quick money, but it seems it works if you're willing to go through those hurdles. I'm sure you've had a sleepless night or two along the way.
Well, if you can find something, then figure out how to get into it and understand it. It's easier to duplicate a second or a third time.
Sure.
But if you jump around in a whole new arena, in a whole new lane, you might have a pitfall.
Yeah.
I had a friend that wanted to do something in Austin in the residential market, and I said, I don't know anything about Austin residential.
Sure.
It's just not even going to be something I'm going to look at.
Yeah, and I think in the age of the internet age we live in, the social media age we live in, just because you saw something on the internet doesn't mean that you should jump into that. You really need to drill down and understand what you're investing in.
But commercial, I mean, there's various sizes, and yes, as a general rule, the numbers are bigger than residential, but there are things that are approachable and doable. So don't be discouraged and say, I could never do that.
Right. Yeah, when you look at all of this, I do want us to talk about what El Paso could do possibly to attract more commercial real estate investors, more businesses to the region. But first, we do need to take a break. If you're just joining us, we're with Claiborne Gallagher. He's a commercial real estate investor, broker with RGL Real Estate here in El Paso. We're also working in southern New Mexico. Love this kind of conversation as we learn to love our city and love our neighbors. Before we go into the break, KELP Radio would like to thank its impact partners. The impact partners are local businesses, nonprofits, educational institutions that have joined us in our journey to serve the community through radio ministry. The impact partner I'd like to point out today is Living Hope Counseling Service. They're here in El Paso. I've heard so many good things about them from so many pastors. It's a safe place for healing and spiritual growth. Their executive director, Robert Hart, has been on this program multiple times as we talk about mental health issues in our community. They provide biblically based counseling services for individuals, couples, families, pastors, and ministry leaders for over 18 years. And as Robert often points out, it's often the pastors who don't have anyone to talk to. So regardless of who you are, if you're looking for someone to talk to, check out Living Hope Counseling Service. It's livinghopeCCS.org. You can find all of our impact partners at KELPradio.com in the impact partner section. If you own or manage a business and you're interested in becoming a KELP radio impact partner, just reach out via the site. We'd love to talk to you about what that entails, and let's reach and serve our community together. We're going to go into a break. Do not touch that dial.
We'll be right back. Don't touch that dial.
Greetings, KELP listeners. This is Terry Gray, pastor of Calvary Chapel, Sun City, and speaker on the Summons broadcast heard each weekday at 5 p.m. right here on this station. Calvary Chapel, Sun City is located at 960 West Borderland Road on the west side of El Paso. We hold services on Wednesday evenings at 7 and on Sunday mornings at 9 and 11. If you are without a church home, we would love to have you join us for worship and Bible study. You can find out more information about us on the web at www.ccsuncity.org.
This is Pastor Steve Castrita. I'd like to extend the invitation for you to join us in service every Saturday at 5 p.m. at Redeeming Grace Church, El Paso. We are located at 2400 George Dieter inside Iglesia Philadelphia. We're a young church on the east side of El Paso with no smoke, no lasers, and no gimmicks, just the uncompromising Word of God and a call to win the 915 for Jesus Christ. We'd love to meet you and your family. God bless you, and thank you for listening to KELP.
Greetings, KELP listeners. This is Terry Gray, pastor of Calvary Chapel, Sun City, and speaker on the Summons broadcast heard each weekday at 5 p.m. right here on this station. Calvary Chapel, Sun City is located at 960 West Borderland Road on the west side of El Paso. We hold services on Wednesday evenings at 7 and on Sunday mornings at 9 and 11. If you are without a church home, we would love to have you join us for worship and Bible study. You can find out more information about us on the web at www.ccsuncity.org.
We're back. You're listening to 915 Talk.
We are back, and you're listening to 915 Talk. I'm your host, Andy Freck, and today we're with Claiborne Gallagher. We're talking about commercial real estate here in our city, here in our region, here in the borderland, southern New Mexico. During the break, Claiborne, you were talking about how, let me see if I got this right, how the land in El Paso is titled differently than in other parts of the country?
Well, it goes back to the original, the original ownership. El Paso is a really tightly controlled real estate market, especially on the commercial side, the retail side, because other parts of the state, there would have been lots of family farms, different people that owned 10 acres, 40 acres.
Yeah.
Well, El Paso, a lot of the land was owned either by the railroad, the state of Texas.
Okay.
So as you got to the edge of town, like the last 11 sections that got annexed into the city out in far east El Paso, it was really two groups that were part of that. Horizon City, You've got close to 2,000 acres. It was one group that's kind of was behind a lot of that. So you didn't have land in multiple owners, multiple holders. And that kind of affected how commercial real estate was developed in those areas of town.
Right. Yeah.
Even on the west side.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. We're faith-based. We're Christian radio. We have a lot of church leaders come in, and there's a reason why there are not a lot of churches east of Joe Battle. And the way I understand it is it's just because the commercial real estate is so expensive.
Yeah. So, and you didn't have a lot of options. Well, let's go to the next intersection over and see if that guy will sell. It's the same person. It's the same. So, when that Joe Battle, Zaragoza, Montana corridor got put together in 2003, there was 5 sections that got annexed into the city, and then 6 sections that got annexed in 2008.
What is this section?
640 acres,
Okay.
A mile by a mile.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. So we're using ranching language here.
Ranching language, which became, residential subdivisions, but the various streets, Edgemere and Rich Beam and those streets out there, the corners were, there wasn't a lot of different ownership. So that affected how things were priced. That's affected how things were marketed or sold or not sold. A lot of it was leased because it was tightly controlled.
Yeah. And I want to ask you this because, in this program, we've talked so much about the property taxes in El Paso with so many previous guests, including political community leaders. And it always comes back to, well, there's not enough business in El Paso. And you're dealing with a lot of these national brands who are coming into El Paso. Do you see anything that the city could be doing differently or more to attract business to the region?
I think the city's done a good job in just promoting El Paso. I think they've overstepped some bounds in how they've tried to control or influence like retail development coming in. I think that's best left up to the private sector.
Okay.
An example of that is, what happened out at where the Amazon facility, the old Johnson & Johnson plant at Art Craft or Paseo del Norte in 10. The city got involved with that and wanted to do the Great Wolf Lodge, and that resulted in a trade for 2,000 acres out in the northeast side of town. I don't think it worked out that great for the taxpayers, and I think it would probably have been better served if the private sector would have been kind of the spearheads of driving most of the retail development. Yeah. But the city does do a good job in promoting. I think that what we've done with downtown redevelopment and some of the different things, it's just been a great catalyst for the whole market.
Okay.
But we are a border city. We're challenged a little bit, and there's just some retail brands that, i.e. the Nordstroms of the world, they're probably not coming to El Paso. We just don't have the demographics and the per capita incomes.
Yeah, well, we got another message about HEB earlier, about 20 minutes ago. You were talking about retail follows the rooftops, and they wrote retail follows the rooftops and HEB exclamation point.
No, they've come in and they've looked, and I'm not saying that they're not, that they might kick the tires again.
Yeah.
They've always just held off that it was a distribution issue, but I think they might be figuring that out, and never say never. They might come back to the market.
So what I heard you say though is the city leaders are doing a good job of promoting the city, but kind of what I heard you say is maybe after they're done promoting, they need to let the private sector.
Well, and our property taxes are out of control, and I don't. We're not an income tax state, so. That's how the revenues are generated, mostly off of property taxes. But so I think the residents in other states would probably be screaming and yelling about the income taxes.
Yeah, that's fair. That's true. Yeah.
But maybe we just don't have the kind of industry that can kind of foot some of the heavy bills, whether it be heavy industrial or some of the things that can kind of really drive some of the property taxes. But, For instance, when I got into real estate, an A-class center, the CAMs, meaning the property tax, insurance, and maintenance, were about $3, and usually about a third of that cost, or about a dollar, was the proportion. A dollar per foot was about the proportionate share of property taxes, and this would have been in the early 2000s. Okay. Well, now a higher end center, we've got CAMs that are going up, $10, $12 a foot, and that's not something like the Fountains, which is higher.
Sure.
So you're looking, it's gone up 300%.
Wow.
A dollar per foot in tax in 2000 is now $3 to $4 a foot.
Wow.
In value. So it's gone up, and these are charges that are passed on to the retailers as a general rule, that they're having to pass those on to their clients, their customers.
Sure.
Because somebody's got to pay for it, and at the end of the day, it usually filters back to the consumers of retail products.
Yeah. Claiborne, this hour has flown by. We only have a couple minutes left. I feel like I could talk about commercial real estate for hours more. We'd love to have you back on again. But you're also involved with Salvation Army.
Yeah.
Just briefly, what is it that you love about Salvation Army that you invest your time in that?
They're here in El Paso. It's a simple mission. Their primary purpose is they run a shelter down by the Coliseum, and they have a motto that they're doing the most good, and they are just serving the people that find themselves in a tough spot, need a shelter, need a meal. They provide some other services, but it was easy for me to get behind, and the directors that were always associated with, they're basically missionaries. They're not taking a lot of the funds out of the organization. Yeah. It's efficient in how the money goes back to the public. I've been involved. I was involved with the Salvation Army probably for the past 15 years, and served as the president of the board 2 years ago, and just came off of it not too long ago.
Love it. In the minute that we have left, if you could pray one prayer for El Paso, what would that prayer be?
Oh, just that we would continue to be a region that prospers, that people could provide for their families and not be overstretched with whatever line of work, that we would be a community that would be open, that people could find employment and be able to live in a good, sustainable manner. I just think there's so many things that stress and tax people. We've already got low incomes in El Paso, and you want people to not just live paycheck to paycheck and multiple jobs to kind of get through. So I'd love if we could kind of bring in some industry and some things that could kind of broaden our economic base to bring up our income levels and just people's ability to really provide for themselves and their families.
Amen. Love it. Today we've been with Claiborne Gallagher. Claiborne, thank you so much for coming in today. Really have enjoyed this conversation. As we always say, let's learn to love our city, love our neighbors, and give God all the glory. This has been 915 Talk. You have been listening to 915 Talk, a production of Desert Voice Media. In order to listen to previous editions of 915 Talk, just visit desertvoice.media. Let's learn together to love our city, love our neighbors, and give God all the glory.